Do a lap on board with the Rat. I'll try it in English. A rap. Have a listen to Paul at work.
Performance from both these drivers. Greg Murphy fighting his way up from 30th to 9th. Radicic from 29th to 10th. These have been the comeback kids of leg 2 of the Clipsal 500 as they fight their way around the streets of Adelaide. Great shots there on board the Shell Helix Ford.
Well, I'm down here in pit lane with Brad Jones, and from what we can understand, Brad, the actual suspension has broken away from the base of its mounting. What caused that?
Well, it's just broken a shock absorber mount. One end of it's broken off, and I got a bit of a hit early on, and you know, it's just the sort of luck we've been having with the Aussie male team this year. It's a pity really, because the car's been going really quick, and we were hanging on to Radicic and Cito and Murph without any trouble.
The boys are running around pretty frantically. Do you think you can fix it and get back out there?
I hope so. We really want to get some miles on it. This is our new car, and so we'll patch it up and see how it goes, and if it's worth running, we'll run it. Otherwise, we'll park it, but we really need to get some miles on the car, so we'll have to stay out there.
Thanks, Brad.
When you do a lap with, when we were doing that lap with Paul Radicic, you can really see why it's so tiring around here. Kind of, there's not a moment's rest. I guess with the old circuit, the way it used to be for the Formula One, at least you could have a bit of a breather down the main straight, the big long chute at the back.
Yeah, there were a couple of straights where you could at least relax, but you know, Mark said in the Kmart inside line, just you never leave anything in the car alone around here at the moment. You're just fighting hard.
It's amazing watching the body language of this Falcon. It rides these bumps so well. It's almost reminiscent of the Holden Racing Team cars. The shock control on this car looks very, very good. He's just able to glide it over the curves. Doesn't look like there's any too much drama. It's doing everything nice and comfortably. And it's showing in his lap times too. He's pumped it out to just over 3 seconds now over Stephen Johnson. So Craig Lowndes and the Gibson Motorsport team in very dominant form on the streets of Adelaide so far.
Teams have an opportunity overnight to sit down with their drivers and analyse their data and make subtle changes, and in some cases they can be quite big changes. These guys have done that and tried to just refine the car a little more, and as Mark picked it does look a little more at home on the circuit today.
Fascinating thing about this Gibson Motorsport operation too is they're still so new to the game in terms of running a Ford product. Keep in mind this is a 1999 spec Stone Brothers Ford that's basically been resprayed and re-engineered. They're still yet to get another engine there. I think they don't have a spare engine yet. I know Ross Stone is carrying one for them in the Stone Brothers truck, but they really are just a bare bones operation at the moment.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be hurting them, does it?
No. There's still a lot of boxes to be ticked, I guess is the best way to describe it, Mark. There's our second place man, Stephen Johnson. There's the margin, 3 seconds, 3.2 seconds to Craig. Interesting that Bradley broke a shock top. That's an unusual thing to have fail around here. Some of those are actually machined by the team, so I'd be curious to know where that bit came from and who made it and why it failed.
Fantastic drive by Stephen Johnson this weekend. In fact, he's had a very mature approach to this race, just 26 years of age and son of a touring car legend. A lot of pressure on his shoulders, a lot of expectation. He didn't deliver last year, but he looks like he's come out of the box much faster in 2001.
Radicic looking aggressive again. He's got better mid-corner speed than Murph. It's almost reminiscent of yesterday's battle. Remember when Greg's car was just getting a little nervous in the rear?
Great battle. This is the battle for 9th position between Greg Murphy and Paul Radicic. They're battling just to stay inside the top 10. And And they've come from a long, long, long way back after dramas yesterday. And now these two cars, the Commodore and the Falcon, very evenly matched around this 3.2 kilometre circuit. 220, 230 k's, but they brake hard for this incredibly tight hairpin at the end of Burton Straight. Fire out toward Ford XR8 corner. So Radicic looking comfortable. The big question with Paul is how he's going to be after 250 k's around here.
Problem for Paul Morris. Dean Canto rounding him up, and if you recall, Paul was much closer to the top of the tree, so he's dropping down the order for some obscure reason.
Had a word to Paul Sepranich at Big Kev Racing. He tells me there's a bit of concern for the Big Kev racer. It is losing fuel and they don't know why. The drivers who were behind him a couple of laps ago, both Faulkner and a few others, had radioed that the car was losing fuel. So Morris is bringing the car in now. Paul Sepranich has also had a word to Dean Orr and the team at Four Wheel Racing, because they're worried about the prospect of possible fire here, and both cars are coming in at the same time, so we'll watch this one closely.
Sometimes what happens, Greg, is the sprung-loaded seal in these dry brake systems doesn't actually, there's like a little valve on them and they don't seal flat. You've got the four wheel tucked in behind there. It's an awkward situation when two cars are so close nose to tail, and fuel just continues to spray out either the vent side or the filler side. But by virtue of the fact that they're looking in the boot of the car means that perhaps one of the clips has actually come off the bag. These big hose clips on the fuel ducts that go into the top of the fuel bladder. What can you see there?
Well, Paul Morris has actually just been dragged out of the car, guys. We'll try and get some shots of this for you. He's not been too well, so obviously the fuel fumes have overcome Paul from the back of this car. He went to get out of the car when it pulled in. I don't know if we can see this here, but he's actually collapsed. He tried to get out of the car straight away and really struggled to do so. And he fell as soon as he put his foot down on the ground. He collapsed. The team are here. But there's a lot of fuel. You can smell the fuel in the boot of this car.
Yeah, we can see it, Rusty. Paul Morris lying on the concrete. Team attending to him. Hopefully he's going to be okay, but he's breathed in a lot of evil fumes inside that car. There's his father, Terry Morris, watching on.
The medic guys on the spot pretty quickly.
Watching the gap here. It's come down under 3 seconds now. 2.9 seconds between Craig Lowndes and Junior Johnson. Lowndes still got the fastest lap of the race. That was set on 16, a 1:26.43. It's pumped out to a higher time now, but a 1:26.43, quickest lap so far. So the order: Craig Lowndes, 2.9 seconds in front of Stephen Johnson. Russell Ingall still in third. Mark Scape, Jason Bart 1, Stephen Richards in 6th. Larry Perkins in 7th. Todd Kelly in 8th. Greg Murphy in 9th. And Paul Radicic in 10th. So that's the top 10.
Remember that Morris was involved in an incident on Friday where he put the car into the wall pretty heavily into the final turn. And often problems can arise after a shunt. Crews don't even know they're there, so something weird has gone on with the fuel system or the top of the bladder, and it's allowed fuel to escape into the boot. And they've obviously got a problem with fumes. He's in good hands down there, though. We're watching Jason Bright climb back through the field. Rotten start to the race for him.
2.8 seconds the gap now between Lowndes and Johnson. So Johnson just chipping away at Lowndes. 27.10 for the race leader, 26.94. So there's only a couple of tenths in it. Those two just slogging it out. The 2 or 3 second bump for this. Oh no!
Dean Canto, one of the Valvoline cars. I think it's Tander's 34. It is.
Yep. Gee,
bad goes to worse for Garth.
Isn't it amazing how your luck can turn around? This man was on pole position here last year, had great race speed, ended up on the podium at the end of the day. Things looking different in 2001.
Wright continues his march forward. He's in 16th. 15th now as a result of that shunt in the final turn.
Ambrose up to 13.
Well, that's a great effort from Jason Bright. He dropped down as low as 36th after that altercation on the first lap. The whole racing team working very quickly to repair that panel work damage, put a new tyre on and get him back into action. You can see the scars there. Let's have a look at this incident a little earlier on. Let's see what happened here with Canto and Tander. Just a little kiss.
Not quite sure why Garth would be stuck there in that position on the track, though. Another view from overhead. The Shell Helix replay shows the story. Nothing like far enough up the inside. It was enough to tap Dean around.
Here we go. With him cleaning out the radiator vents, Mark Scaife in for his fuel stop.
Go over when you go out. Go over when you go out.
It's Jeff telling him to get in the fast lane. There it is.
Brad Jones has rejoined the race as well, so Mark Scaife, the first of the front runners to come in for his compulsory fuel stop. Lap 26, that's about bang on target.
Jason Bright in the background, I think, came in there as well, and also Glenn Seaton. Yeah, there's Brighty.
And we hear from race control, safety car is coming onto the circuit. Yep, safety car sign is being shown, so we've got a safety car period here. This could be confusing.
That's perfect timing for the Holden Racing team, guys. This is what happened with Lowndes yesterday. Now what happens is the field compresses, and therefore any advantage that you had is instantly eradicated. This will give them a good net position when it all shakes out.
That is a huge advantage when that happens.
Bewildered as to why Garth would have been stranded there for so long. That was amazing. Might see if we can get hold of Gary Rogers and come up with an answer to that one for you.
The problems here, the car pumping out smoke from that left front tyre. Looks like it's rubbing on the guard.
Just a bit.
Look at the amount of damage on this Valvoline Commodore. Boy, oh boy. It's amazing. The Valvoline Cummins team just have not got this season off to a good start.
Isn't it weird how it can pendulum on you though, Mark? I mean, last year they just did everything right. Garth had one bad event at Canberra, all the other events just went like clockwork for him. And now this year, it's been such a difficult start. Set up problems at Phillip Island. Probably caught the car pretty close to right by the end of it, but it's too late. Everybody's bolted. Now more drama this weekend. Car knocked around, points slipping away.
Yeah, it's incredible the way fortunes can change in the middle of championship. Garth Tander's feeling it now, feeling the pinch. He tries to close the gap. And the amazing thing about the Gary Rogers Motorsport team is there were so many changes amongst team structures and team personnel over the summer. This is the one team that really didn't have any major changes. So you'd think they'd be backing up or picking up where they left off last year, but things just not going their way. Here comes Garth into pit lane to try and fix this damage. Keep in mind, the compulsory pit stop limit only applies to the safety car period. You can repair damaged bodywork.
Well, Garth Tander is definitely in the wars today. The front end of this car is quite damaged, as you can see. Now they have to replace the front left tyre because it has been rubbing through that contact. Now, also bad news for Jason Bargwanna. He's been given the meatball flag because his stop lights aren't working. So that's something they're going to have to attend to as well here in the Valvoline team.
No, never rains when it pours, does it?
And that's generally just something simple like the stop light switch on the brake pedal, and you know, it's a 2-second operation to sort it out, but it's not a 2-second operation going in and out of the pit lane, I can assure you.
Got one more lap behind the safety car, we're told by race control. And this is the great...
Fast lane, fast lane.
It's Gary Rogers, fast lane, fast lane, fast lane.
That's where race officials are told these cars have got to rejoin, get out, get into it.
The car wasn't nice under brakes down.
Yeah, I was going to say.
A lot of battle damage on the front of the Valvoline Cummins car.
I was looking away, but if they only changed one tyre then, which I think they did, they'll put a cold tyre in the front left.
Exactly
so he's got 3 warm ones and 1 cold one, and when you put your foot on the brake, the steering wheel wants to go completely out of your hands. It's ugly. So let's just refresh the order here. Lowndes, Johnson, Ingle, Bargwanna, Richards, Perkins, Murphy, Radisich, Faulkner, Ambrose. Not a bad recovery from Ambrose, keeping in mind the Holden Racing Team cars have taken a stop. Safety car is out again.
Gee, that's a good position for Mark Scaife. He's made his compulsory fuel stop, and now he's in 12th place in the queue. Made up a ton of track position. That's fallen into the lap of Holden Racing Team so far.
I wonder what happened to Tony Longhurst, because he was right up there and he's now down in 13 and hasn't made a stop yet.
All the while the Lowndes form is looking good. This one's going to get down to strategy, guys.
It is.
It's a very difficult race now for everybody on the laptops to try and plot what's going to happen, because it's been so fragmented in the way that it's unfolded. When and how do you take your fuel and tyre?